Welcome to today's Explainer. Look, if you're a creator, a brand, or a community builder, you already know that the digital landscape is massively shifting right now. Today, we're exploring a seriously fascinating blueprint from our source material, and it basically outlines the future of community building. We're going to look at this whole concept of just stepping away from the absolute chaos of centralized platforms. The goal here is to empower you to build a sovereign digital home, a place where you make the rules and you actually keep the value. Here's the architectural blueprint for what we're covering today. First, we'll look at the rented land problem, then the digital village solution, scaling to 10,000, designing your custom space, AI in the village economy, and finally, launching your sovereign home. Let's get right into it. Section 1, the rented land problem. Okay, let's dive into this with a pretty serious question. Why on earth are you paying to reach the followers you've already earned? Seriously, think about it. You do the hard work, right? You create the content, you clear the land, you build the house, and you invite everyone over. People explicitly click follow because they genuinely want to hear from you. And yet, platforms will often just throttle your reach. They basically ask for your credit card just so you can speak to your very own audience. It's a wildly frustrating dynamic. The source material frames this reality perfectly. It points out that for over a decade, we've all essentially been living as digital tenants. The whole era of just passive networking on centralized platforms, yeah, it's fading fast. Right now, creators are entirely at the mercy of digital landlords. Algorithms can change literally overnight, your reach can be arbitrarily restricted, and honestly, your entire community could be wiped away with just one tiny tweak of back-end code. Which brings us to Section 2, the digital village solution. So think about how traditional social media operates today. It's basically like this hyper-congested mega city. It's noisy, it's heavily manipulated by algorithms, and despite all the people, it's fundamentally isolating. The Web4 concept completely flips this paradigm on its head. Instead of a megacity, imagine a bespoke digital village. We're talking about an active, human-centered, self-governed ecosystem that is tailored strictly to your group's unique culture. This isn't just about downloading a different app, it is about achieving absolute digital sovereignty. Now, you might be wondering, how is this actually built without needing some massive, expensive tech team? Well, the blueprint points to something called Social Network as a Service, or SNIS. This underlying framework, like the one offered by Web4 Studio, handles all that complex infrastructure for you. It enables creators to deploy independent, fully sovereign platforms. Basically, you don't have to suddenly become a back-end engineer just to lead your own community. And this SNAS model is built on 4 really crucial structural pillars. First up is data sovereignty. You and your citizens actually retain ownership of your data, totally free from corporate tracking. Second, you get a true chronological feed. Content appears exactly as it happens. There's no opaque AI reordering posts just to force you into buying ads. Third is platform independence. Your network lives out on the open web, which means it is completely immune to those arbitrary App Store bans. And fourth is the Universal Intelligent ID, or UIID. This just means your users get a secure, portable identity that stores their data safely with the host. Moving on to Section 3, scaling to 10,000. Let's move to and see how this builds out in reality, because the blueprint outlines 3 really distinct phases for doing this. I mean, you obviously don't want to launch an empty network to thousands of people, right? So phase 1 is gathering your first 100 founding villagers. You want to treat them almost like co-founders. You use secure, tracker-free invite links to give them exclusive entry and gather their feedback. Then, phase 2 takes you from 100 to 1,000 settlers. This is where you empower those early adopters to invite their peers and actually co-create a community charter that reflects your true values. Finally, phase 3 is scaling up to 10,000 plus true citizens. The system dynamically scales the computing infrastructure behind the scenes, so even as demand surges, performance stays absolutely flawless and the village still feels personal. I want to pause on this number for a quick second. 10,000. Why does this exact number matter so much? Well, because building a crowd of 10,000 passive followers on a centralized platform is honestly just a house of cards. A stiff algorithmic breeze can blow the whole thing right over. But 10,000 super loyal citizens on sovereign soil, that is digital permanence. In a village setting, loyalty is built through active participation, not just passive scrolling. Reaching this milestone really means shifting your entire strategy from wide net marketing to deep root cultivation. All right, Section 4, designing your custom space. What's really unique about this approach is that you aren't forced into a single rigid corporate format. Different layout options actually function as specific, vibrant zones within your new village. So, for example, if you need deep discussions, knowledge sharing, and organizing, you'd want the classic forum layout. Think of that as your town hall. For sharing artwork, products, or lifestyle media, the visual feed acts a lot like your village marketplace. Or if you need super fast news and real-time updates, deploying the microblog layout functions exactly like a town square crier. You get to pick the environment that serves your specific people best. And assembling these spaces is meant to be incredibly easy. By using classic templates, you can deploy a white label platform almost as easily as building a simple presentation slide. But if you want something totally unique, the source material highlights this awesome concept called UI vibe coding. This actually allows you to use natural language or just simple themes to generate completely custom front-end designs. So your village doesn't just act differently from a corporate platform, it can look beautifully, uniquely yours.
Section 5, AI and the Village Economy.
Now, obviously, managing 10,000 people can easily overwhelm any human, and traditional platforms usually just rely on these blunt, aggressive algorithms that accidentally ban innocent users all the time. But this blueprint solves that by embedding autonomous AI agents built on robust frameworks like Google's GenKit. Think of them as your wise village elders. You've got community analyzers that track organic sentiment, so they tell you what your village is feeling before a crisis even peaks. Then, content planners act as your drafting co-pilots, helping you create resources based on real-time network trends. And finally, decentralized guardrails provide automated compliant moderation. It keeps the environment totally safe without relying on that heavy-handed, blunt force censorship. It's also important to remember that a village truly thrives when it has its own economy. In this model, creators can finally stop relying on generic ad revenue and instead build a self-sustaining micro-ecosystem. You can monetize exclusivity through things like VIP town squares or private masterclasses. And because you actually own the infrastructure, you keep the value, rather than losing huge cuts to middleman payment gateways. Plus, you can reward your real loyalists with early product drops, custom community coins, and digital assets that are completely portable and hold real, tangible value. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is a fascinating concept detailed in our sources called spatial sovereignty. Using decentralized mapping infrastructure, this literal digital village can actually connect back to the physical world. Regional organizers can map out real-world touchpoints, things like local farmers markets, neighborhood businesses, or community centers. Your digital social network literally bridges into real-world civic participation. It supports local merchants, bringing those digital relationships directly into the physical streets of your members' lives. It's just brilliant. Which brings us to our final section, Section 6, launching your sovereign home. Before opening the gates and inviting the world in, the blueprint provides us with a quick, actionable deployment checklist. First, choose your infrastructure. You want to hook up to a fair use host for fast, tracker-free media delivery. Second, configure storage buckets. Get that decoupled storage set up to securely hold all user data. Third, establish UID. Activate those super secure password leak protected logins. Fourth, select your template base. Basically, decide if you're deploying a town hall, marketplace, or town square layout. And finally, define the village charter. Draft up your terms of service so absolutely everyone knows the rules of the land on day one. So the crucial takeaway for us today is this. The actual tools to build a safe, profitable, and deeply connected community are emerging right now. By aligning decentralized technology and AI, you can literally hold the keys to your own digital home. So I'll leave you with this final provocative thought to mull over. Will you keep renting your audience, just waiting around for the algorithm to change yet again? Or will you step up, take control, and found your own village? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.